Dissects now. As I mentioned during our open tease, everyone's favorite quarterback uncle, Blaine Fowler.
It was more like this. That's how Lego hands
the Lego
go, like
expressions. The eyebrows, too.
And by the way, when I think of archers, I don't think of Genghis Khan's guys. I'm thinking of Legolas. We need that
Legolas,
kind.
yeah.
We need Legolas accuracy
Okay.
with the archers.
Yeah.
So.
Orlando Bloom, paging Orlando Bloom.
Yeah, can we get Orlando out there?
What do you want to see?
He couldn't keep the honor code.
Blaine, what do you want to see? Stop it.
Very good point. No, I'm with you.
Off?
No, you're right on. He's not even interested in the honor code.
He was not going to recruit him.
No.
Yeah.
What do you want to see from the BYU run game against Utah based on what's happened in the previous two games?
I'd like to see. It's interesting as I broke down the film. There were a lot of times that there were solid blocks along the line of scrimmage and one guy got beat man-to-man. There were other times when there were small cracks in the defense and the backs didn't hit the hole at the right speed or hit the wrong hole, bounced the wrong direction into a block. So there's plenty of blame to go around. Certainly the offensive line can do a better job of making sure that they're sound all the way across, because against a team like LSU, it only takes one of those really, really talented guys up front to win that one-on-one, and now you've got problems because those guys are fast enough and good enough to close the gap and make plays, especially if the backs aren't running as hard as they can downhill. So it's a combination thing. They have to get better. It helps that you don't play LSU next week. That helps a lot. I think people don't understand how good they are for BYU, and I know on After Further Review, we all picked BYU to win. I picked them 21-20, but we don't want to give them bad karma by not picking them. Vegas had them, and I know we're talking about Vegas, as almost a 2-touchdown deficit. If LSU plays to their potential and BYU plays to their potential based on talent, LSU's about 2 touchdowns better, which I believe is pretty accurate. If LSU plays really well, which they did, and BYU doesn't play well, then it's what it was. And this week, Utah and BYU from a talent perspective are really similar. They were last year. So there's not going to be as many one-on-one battles won on the line of scrimmage against Utah. In Wisconsin, I haven't looked at them that closely. They may be similar on the front to LSU. Actually, they're not. They're not going to be as good as LSU up front. LSU hasn't had a recruiting class out of the top 12. Well, they've had one out of the top 8 in the last 10 years. So they're just stacked with talent. For BYU to win against that team, they have to play extremely well, and LSU has to not bring their best. I thought LSU, Ed Orgeron and that staff did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
And they came ready to play, and they executed extremely well on both sides of the ball. And I was down there on the field, and I watched them in warm-ups, and I watched them for part of that game, and I went, wow, this is a really talented team. And you guys talked to Lysa yesterday, and what did he tell you about how talented they were?
Oh, he thinks that they have a great shot to make the college football playoff.
Right. So that's the bottom line is
victory.
That was a better football team. Oklahoma was a better football team than BYU the year they played them, but we knocked out their NFL first-round draft pick quarterback early in the game. The team took a step backwards because of it. They turned the ball over. They had penalties. They didn't play their best game, and BYU played almost perfectly in that game with a bunch of NFL guys on the team. And so that's what has to happen when you play against teams that good. So now here comes Utah. Utah's a very good football team. They're always very, very good defensively, even when they're reloading. So I'm not underestimating what Utah can bring. But on a one-on-one basis, talent to talent, they're not close to LSU. And anybody that disputes that doesn't know what they're talking about. And so what does BYU have to do? They have to win those one-on-one battles more often. The running backs have to play more downhill. When there's a little crack, they've got to go attack the crack and get positive yardage. So it's a combination of things. It will help that they're not playing LSU the next 2 weeks.
We've been talking about the offense. Obviously, it needs to play better. Kalani Sitake really open about what the offense didn't do on Saturday and what it meant to the defense and whatnot. So let's start with Tanner Mangum, then let's talk about what we were talking about, the running backs. What are you seeing from Tanner Mangum through 2 games so far?
He needs to be more confident with what he's doing. I've said this all along, that Tanner has the skill set to be able to drop back and throw the ball when his mechanics are good, as well as anybody in the country. So he can get it out and he can be accurate, but he's got to be confident enough to trust his read, and he's got to be confident enough to make the read so that when he gets back there and he goes, I should go here, without question, he pulls the trigger and lets it go. I'm even okay if he throws an interception or 2 in a game. That's okay. When you're playing against really talented teams, now LSU, phenomenal team speed. So the windows to throw the football in are really small. You have got to pull the trigger and let it go. And you know what? You might have a tip ball that gets picked off. You might have one that's not perfectly accurate that gets picked off, but you're going to complete some balls and you're going to move the chains. Utah is also very sound defensively. And so those windows, they're not going to be as small as the windows against LSU. Utah's got good team speed, but not close to what LSU has. So the windows will be a little bit bigger, but not that big. So what Tanner has to do is he's got to be very confident in the scouting report they're giving him. He has to be very confident when he takes a step back with his initial read, and then he just has to let it fly and stay within his mechanics and not worry. Right now, I felt like last week he was a little bit tentative, and it's hard to see those openings. That's a great football team. He's just got to trust himself, trust his physical skills, and let it fly. And if you throw a pick, you throw a pick. That's my feeling on what they have to do.
Yeah, and Ty Detmer mentioned yesterday, I probably didn't do Tanner any favors all week in practice saying, get it out quickly, throw the ball quickly, because it didn't allow him to feel comfortable enough to allow some of his progressions to actually develop and just going 1, 2, 3, and then you're in a hurry and then you look uncomfortable and then your mechanics are off and all that stuff.
Confidence in his reads, and then once you make that decision, then you throw it with full confidence. You let it fly. Sometimes you do that and the ball's like halfway out of your hand and you go, oh, that was a bad read. And you recognize it, but that's okay. You'll take a couple of those when he's throwing it with confidence and on target the rest of the time. Right now, I'll take a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. They need to complete some balls. And so Tanner is perfectly capable. But what we have to remember is the great quarterbacks for BYU were great after they've been in a single offense that they've learned from the time they walked on campus for 2 or 3 years, and then finally in their junior year or sometimes in their senior year, the light bulb came on and they threw it with unbelievable confidence and the reads just became automatic. Well, for Tanner, first time he's in this offense was last year, so that was like his freshman year. This is like his sophomore year. Anybody want to remember what Steve Young did his sophomore year? He wasn't the Steve Young we all know. How about John Beck? Was John Beck the John Beck that we know as a senior when he was a sophomore? And so Tanner should be a little bit ahead of that because he's been in the program and played college football, so the learning curve should be quicker. But I think we're expecting him to be great based on what he did 2 years ago. This is a brand new offense, and I think he's going to be better this week than he was last week. I think he's going to be better the week after that than he is this week. To me, what we have to do is, in practice and all those things, make sure that we continue to build his confidence and that when he makes a decision, he goes with it and throws it with full confidence. Because when you throw it tentatively, you start to aim the football and you just have to throw it and your mechanics hold up. If you start aiming the football, you're not accurate. And he had some throws that weren't accurate, and I felt like he aimed it a little bit. And that's a head game, and he has got to throw it confidently.
The running backs are a little bit of a situation as well. Obviously, some injuries in there. Also, some question marks like who's the guy? Where's Ula Tolutau, Riley Burt, those kinds of things. What do you think of the running backs right now, and who do you see kind of emerging as some of the main guys?
I think if Ula can be healthy, he can be an every down guy.
And Ty said that he thinks he's close to 100%.
Yeah, and that's the key. So he hasn't been, and remember, he's 4 months removed from a mission. So is that right? I think, yeah, it's still 4 months, right? So that's a tough thing. And so he's kind of played himself through the summer into shape, and they're feeling better and better about him. He's got potential to be really good in an every down NFL back, but they don't want to throw him in there before he's prepared. And they don't want to throw him in there before he's 100% healthy and 100% in shape. So there's another guy that I think starts to get more, probably this week, more playing time, and then they can build on that. Can he be the guy? I think he can. But Ty's very careful to make sure that they build this thing over time and don't feel like they have to be world beaters offensively in 2 weeks into the second year of this offense. And on the other side of the ball, the defense, there were some real bright spots defensively at LSU. When you defend 42 minutes, I thought that they did a pretty good job against LSU considering the talent on that side, on LSU's offensive side of the football. Darius, guys, I talked to Steve Craigthorpe, who's an assistant to Ed Orgeron there, a good friend, and we were talking about their quarterback and their line. He was talking about the talent, and he admitted they're really, really good. And I said, well, what about Darius Geis? And then he just lit up, and he's like, oh, dude, he's a first round. Like, he's awesome. Like, he's an amazing talent. When a coach at LSU gushes that he's got an amazing talent and a team of amazing talent, that tells you how good that guy is. And I thought BYU counted themselves very well. This is a guy that averaged almost 8 yards a carry last year in the SEC West. So BYU's defense doesn't have problems. They were fine. They're going to give, as the weeks progress, the offense a chance to kind of come on. Offense takes longer. Confidence needs to be built. I think that who has the best chance to develop into a big-time guy like we're used to seeing? I think maybe Ulu's that guy.
It's just going to take time. That's the thing. 4 months off of a mission, and it's hard to be patient when your expectations are really high. And BYU fans know all about that.
I hate being
Blaine,
patient.
great stuff.
All right, guys.
More of everyone's favorite uncle and quarterback, Blaine Fowler, tonight after further review. Brand new episode breaking down LSU and preparing for the BYU-Utah game, 7 Eastern, 5 Mountain Time. Thanks, Blaine.
You bet,
Thanks,
guys.
Blaine.